So, I decided that I was going to start this video off with a little rhyme that can basically sum up this entire chapter. I just thought of it off the fly and didn't rehearse it at all, so here we go. Deku is a lone ranger. The heroes are in danger. Compress is a mess. Shigaraki is repressed. But All for One is here, and he'll make everyone disappear. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here, coming at you with another review for My Hero Academia manga chapter 295, titled Persistent. Now, what does that title imply? Could it be referring to Deku? Possibly. Could it be referring to All for One? Maybe. Could it be referring to the heroes, the villains? Frankly, it can refer to literally everyone because everyone is persistent because everyone wants to win this war for their side. So, when it comes to this chapter of My Hero Academia, there's a lot of reveals and a lot of surprises in this chapter pertaining to Deku, All for One, Shigaraki. Just surprises abound. And let's just say that, yeah, the war is coming to an end. This chapter basically confirms that idea once again, like the past few chapters, but this one is more definitive and it kind of gives an idea on which side is going to win. And before I get more into the review, I would like for all of you watching, if you haven't done so, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Big Blue Drew 97, and leave a like and a comment down below on what you thought of this chapter, or specifically what you thought of these translations. And without the way, let's get right into the review, starting off with the first panel that we actually have, which is just nothing but blackness with a shining light that says wake up, as we see that apparently Deku was knocked out by Dabi's heat wave and he is worried about Todoroki. He sees Todoroki is fine, but he comes to a conclusion about this sharp pain in his head, because apparently, if we've been paying attention, Deku has been feeling a sharp pain in his head, and we all just thought like, oh, that's really nothing, what does that even mean? But in actuality, Deku comes to the conclusion that this sharp pain in his head is actually a new quirk that has manifested in the same vein that Black Whip manifested by bursting out of him. This new quirk is manifesting in him as well, as this sharp pain that makes all of his senses, like, or what he's thinking about, all of his senses are probably heightened, and he calls this quirk danger detection, and he thinks that this is the quirk of the fourth user. So, Deku has spider sense. I think this is pretty blatant on what type of quirk this is. This is basically a what if Deku has a spider sense. I'm pretty sure Hirokoshi's a big fan of Spider-Man. I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, so I'm really okay, and I really love this idea that Deku has this new quirk that like lets him detect when danger is. And something interesting about this new ability is that it ties into the idea that Bakugo brought up, that as well as All Might brought up, is that all of these quirks aren't inherently like combat efficient. You can't like use danger detection to fight, but it has the ability to help in a fight. And I think this kind of confirms like what these kind of quirks are going to be. You have float, you have Black Whip, you have danger detection. These quirks by themselves aren't inherently combat ready, but when used in conjunction, when used together with the quirk of One for All, which stockpiles power, and both quirks and actual power, they will work perfectly. So I believe that maybe the next three quirks may actually not be quirks that are good for combat, or possibly two of these new additional quirks that Deku will have will not be necessarily combat ready, will help enhance his ability to fight. And there could be the possibility that one of these quirks is actually combat efficient. But I think that following like the trend that we have right now with Black Whip, with float, and with this new quirk, danger detection, these quirks may not necessarily be inherently used for fighting an individual, but heightening Deku's ability to fight. So we get that, and you may be thinking like, wow, that's a whole lot just coming from like the first 2 or 3 chapters. What's next in this arc? What's next in this chapter? We see basically Compress being taken down by Muriel. Like legit. Like Compress is thinking that this is going to be his great escape, that he's gonna help save the League, he's gonna help save Shigaraki, and no, he just gets knocked out by Muriel. But at the moment, we get a little bit more of what his plan is, and his plan is just to buy time for Shigaraki, because he notices that the Nomu are over there doing their thing, and he realizes that, yo, these Nomu need a command from Shigaraki as soon as he wakes up, but Shigaraki is unconscious. So basically, the Compress is like, I just need to wake him up. I'm gonna die, but I think I've bought him enough time. Like, Spinner, wake up Shigaraki, please. I put Dobby in your hoodie, sweater, cape thing, so, you know, just make sure he wakes up. You're the assistant, you're the most loyal to him. Please wake him up. So yeah, that's basically yeah, he's basically in the process of dying, and his last thoughts are like, yo, let's hope that I bought enough time for Spinner to wake up Shigaraki, which, spoiler, he does, but spoiler, he doesn't, because after we get this moment, and Muriel is about to head for Spinner and try to knock him out so he doesn't wake up Shigaraki, we get this weird visual, somewhat flashback of Shigaraki most likely opening his eyes to see Spinner, but we also get this kind of flashback to establish more of Shigaraki's character, about how when it comes to his hands, he puts them all over his body, and by doing so it makes him vomit, because the hands are the dead hands of his family that he killed with his quirk. But they also put him at peace, because, you know, they're family, and like they're still the people that comfort him. And what is interesting is that it transitions from Shigaraki speaking to someone else speaking, and talking about how everything is burnt to a crisp, but how when he saw everything, or whoever this is saw everything, they saw something down in Shigaraki's heart that was like a piece of lead, that from that piece of lead in his heart that is weighing it down came nothing but rage, as we get basically these carbon fibers coming on Shigaraki, coming on Spinner, Muriel going in for the attack. Shigaraki wakes up. Or does he? Because here's the thing, Shigaraki wakes up, quote unquote, and sends out radio waves to basically control the Nomu. And then we have him basically speaking, but he's speaking slightly differently. He's using different vernacular. He says that, oh yeah, you've gotten great associates. Like, all of these feelings that you feel right now, all of these intimate feelings, you need to keep them with you. Because by doing so, you allow me to be bound to you and become stronger. So keep these hatreds inside of you, Tomura. Revealing that, yeah, the person that is taking over Shigaraki's body is not Shigaraki, but is actually All for One. And when I was trying to explain exactly what the situation is, it's actually very interesting, because basically what All for One is saying is that the hatred that Shigaraki is feeling inside of him, in his heart, that is weighing him down, that rage, is actually fuel for allowing All for One to take over Shigaraki. And with this idea in mind, especially what comes later on in the chapter, it's implying that if Shigaraki just gets rid of this inherent rage, this intimate rage in his heart, then All for One will no longer have control over him. And now you may be thinking, well, how is he going to do that? He literally killed his family with his quirk out of rage. How can he possibly get rid of that rage? The end of the chapter kind of explains that, and I think it's very obvious how he's going to do it, because now we have this new All for One in Shigaraki's body that is basically commanding the Nomu to try and like change the tide of this war. And Spinner's like, yo, what's going on? Like, what about Compress? What about Toga? What about everyone? And All for One is like, no. Iguchi-kun? Yeah, Iguchi? Yeah, calm down. Yeah. Tomura was defeated. by One for All in Endeavor. But don't worry, because I'm here, I'm going to use the Nomu to turn the tables on this war for everyone's sake, and by everyone I mean for me. So yeah, All for One, being selfish as ever, is now using these high-end Nomu to come to his direction, and he's actually using them to escape from this area while carrying, I think it's Toga? Yeah, I think that's Toga, maybe Mr. Compress, most likely Spinner. So yeah, these high-end Nomu are getting Shigaraki out of the battle, and it's like everyone is so worried. All of the heroes are trying to go after them, trying to prevent the villains from escaping. They say don't lose them, as Bastions is using the carbon fibers to capture them. But you have to realize all of these heroes are beaten down. They're trying their best. But Deku, with his black whip from his mouth, wraps around either the Shigaraki, All for One, the Nomu, and you just have All for One in Shigaraki's body. He's basically saying, oh, when this body is perfected, we'll meet again, worthless Izuku Midoriya. He just, like, even, like, this is how you know that this is All for One and not Shigaraki, because he's just insulting Deku. But what is even crazy is that Deku, in retaliation, is telling All for One to shut up, as All for One eventually sends him back flying. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because not only does Deku stand up to All for One, which, if you remember the first time that he really met him or knew of his presence, he was terrified. He was pissing his pants. But now he's telling him to shut up. I think it just shows like how like much stronger that he's become, how more confident he's becoming himself. But even more interesting than that is the monologue that we have from Deku and how he actually really feels about Shigaraki. He knows that Shigaraki has killed so many people and that he couldn't forgive someone like that. He can't forgive someone like that. But he saw something that when he and Shigaraki were in the vestige of One for All, he saw Shigaraki's face. And at that moment, he saw in his face, he saw someone that was asking for help. Because as Deku is being thrown back, as the villains are escaping, as the heroes are trying to chase them, we see all of the destruction of the city. As we see in the background, we don't see anyone, most likely meaning that Shigaraki has escaped. And I think this shows that it is the end of the war. And let me just say this. Good job, Hirokoshi. Good job. Because here's the thing. When it comes to this chapter and just this arc in general, I think this may be one of the best arcs in My Hero Academia. Because it has shown that the Hero Society, which we've all known for a while, is extremely flawed. And we're seeing like how flawed it is. And we're seeing Hero Society basically going to crumble from this moment. Because here's the thing. The heroes' goals were to defeat the League of Villains, the Paranormal Liberation Front, take all of them in one fell swoop, and end it right there, right now. They failed at that. The heroes may have captured a lot of villains. But high-end Nomus are escaping. Shigaraki is escaping. The man that literally destroyed half a city with a single touch escaped. Now, think about this. How is Hero Society going to view it? Heroes have been put on these pedestals that they can't be taken down, that they can't lose. But they lost here. Their goal was to take down Shigaraki and they failed. Their job was to bring in Shigaraki and they failed. To bring in the other members of the League of Villains. Heroes lost this war. If not by not capturing the League of Villains, the Paranormal Liberation Front, they've lost this war because a lot of civilians most likely died. A lot of property has been destroyed. The fact that the villains escaped, yeah, that's bad, but there's also the real of Endeavor being a child abuser, allegedly killing one of his children, is now up in the open. The number one hero of Hero Society is deemed as flawed when heroes are supposed to be seen as perfect beacons of hope. This chapter puts a nail in that coffin. The villains escaped. heroes lost, and there's nothing that they can do about it. So yeah, that's interesting. And like, even though I spent all this time talking about that, you also get the reveal of Deku's quirk, which is very like equivalent to him having spider sense, which, like I said earlier, means that there's a possibility that these other 3 quirks that he's going to obtain may not necessarily be combat equivalent or be combat ready, but they can be used in combat situations to improve Deku's like ability to fight. So he may most likely master this danger detection to like a similar vein as Spider-Man using his spider sense. But just because he has that ability to sense danger doesn't mean that he could easily react to it. In the sense for Spider-Man, yeah, he has spider sense. He can react to things. He can react to things faster than like a normal person, but he still has to act on that reaction. It's a sense. It tells you that danger is near, but Deku has to be fast enough to react to it. So I can't wait to see like how that application is going to be used, as well as the fact that, like I said, the war is over. The heroes have sustained like a huge amount of damage. I can't wait to see like what's gonna happen to Deku's arms. We know for a fact that Eri can rewind like people's quirks, but we know that took like 6 months of energy. What if for Deku's arms it may take 1 month, 5 months, maybe it'll take 2.5 years, and that could just be for one arm. He has wrecked both of his arms. One arm may be more wrecked than the other, but maybe we'll see Deku like not be able to use his arms and may have to start using like blackwood from his mouth, using his legs more, like augmenting his abilities with other quirks that he's obtained, like improving his speed. There's so many things that he could be doing as a byproduct of what happened in this war, and I'm very interested and I can't wait to see it. As well as just seeing like Mr. Compress. We don't get the confirmation of whether or not he died, but seeing Mr. Compress's plan come into action was also very cool in this chapter. And most likely he's going to die, and I think that if not next chapter, within the next few chapters, we're going to see kind of a memorial from the League of Villains, the Paranormal Liberation Front. If Compress dies, we're going to see them put in memorial of Twice and potentially Compress if he dies. So that's going to be very interesting. Cool. What's going to happen next chapter? I think we're just going to immediately go after like either we're going to go into a small time skip where all of the heroes wake up, specifically Deku wakes up from being unconscious, recovers, we may get an explanation of how much damage has occurred, or we may just cut directly to like the reactions of the people and them losing hope and Hero Society just crumbling. I cannot see for certain what's going to happen next. All I know is that I cannot wait to see it. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. I enjoyed reading this chapter. I enjoyed recording this review. If you liked it, leave a like down below. Leave a comment on what you think is going to happen next chapter, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel, Big Blue Dream 97, and do all of that cool jazz. And hopefully I will catch you guys in the next video. And I'm going to see if I can end this with a rhyme. The heroes are down, the villains are up, and it's time for the curtains to fall on this next My Hero arc. It didn't rhyme, but it sounded cool. Bye.